You used to care deeply. You were always the one initiating, chasing, and putting in the effort to keep the connection alive. But now something's changed. Maybe it's because you've grown tired of trying, or perhaps you've realized your energy wasn't being matched, so you've taken a step back. You're no longer chasing, no longer seeking validation. And she's starting to feel it. The dynamic has shifted, and suddenly she's the one paying attention. Wondering what happened, questioning if she took your presence for granted. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, her reaction can reveal far more than words ever could. It's a moment of reckoning for her and for you. Today we're diving deep into the emotions, psychology, and power shifts that occur when you choose to step away and refocus on yourself. Trust me, the way she responds might surprise you. Let's get into it. No, the chase begins. We often place the highest value on what feels just out of our reach. Think about it. The more scarce and unattainable something becomes, the more we crave it. When you stop pouring your attention into her, when you pull back and focus on yourself, she begins to wonder why. Why aren't you as available? Why has your energy shifted? And that curiosity can be powerful. Stoicism teaches us to approach relationships with authenticity and integrity. If your disinterest stems from genuine reasons, maybe you've outgrown the connection, maybe you're prioritizing yourself, that's where the strength lies. Your indifference should come from a place of self, respect and clarity about what you want, not from a desire to toy with someone's feelings. When she feels your energy shift, you might notice her starting to text you first, initiate plans, or even bring up what's changed between you two. This is her way of trying to regain that sense of connection. It's natural for people to react this way. They begin to realize what they've taken for granted. But here's the key. Let her come to you without you compromising your newfound sense of self. Imagine a man who has chosen to focus on his personal growth. He's no longer checking his phone every 5 minutes or rearranging his schedule to accommodate her. He's present in his own life, pursuing his goals and maintaining his peace of mind. That energy, grounded, unbothered, and focused, draws her in. Not because he's pretending to care less, but because he genuinely values himself and his time. It's important to remember that your worth isn't tied to someone else's attention or affection, whether she comes running back or not. Your peace should remain intact. If she does return, it's not for you to punish her or play hard to get. Instead, it's an opportunity to assess whether the connection still aligns with the person you're becoming, so let her reactions unfold naturally. Don't chase, don't overanalyze. Let your actions reflect your priorities and your values. If she genuinely wants to be a part of your life, she make that clear, and if she doesn't, you'll already be walking a path that's fulfilling, with or without her. Stay true to yourself, remain grounded, and trust that the right connections will flourish when built on mutual respect and authenticity. No. 2. Attempts to test your resolve. It's an intriguing shift, one that often triggers a range of behaviors designed to test you suddenly. Her playful remarks might carry a sharper edge, teasing in a way that feels more pointed. She may mention someone else in passing just to see if it stirs a reaction, or she might engage in subtle provocations, attempting to gauge if your disinterest is genuine or simply an act. These behaviors often aren't malicious. They're rooted in the confusion and doubt she feels when the dynamic between you changes. This is the point where many men falter. They get caught up in the moment, reacting emotionally instead of staying composed. Maybe they rush to reassure her, afraid of creating distance, or they lash out defensively, letting frustration dictate their responses. But here's the truth: when you react emotionally, you give away your power. You confirm that her actions can influence your state of mind. And when someone realizes they can easily sway you, respect begins to wane. A Stoic man doesn't let external forces dictate his inner peace. He remains calm, grounded, and in control. No matter what storms may rage around him, if she tests you, see it for what it is: a reflection of her uncertainty, not a call for you to lose your cool. Respond with steadiness. Don't fall into the trap of over-explaining yourself or trying to prove anything. Your quiet, consistent actions will say far more than words ever could. Imagine standing by a lake on a windy day. The surface of the water ripples and shifts, reacting to every gust, but below the surface, the depths remain still, untouched by the chaos above. That's the state you should aim for. Let her see that you are not a man, easily swayed by passing emotions or fleeting provocations, that unshakable calmness commands a different kind of respect, one that lingers regardless of whether the relationship continues. What often surprises women in these moments is that true detachment doesn't come with hostility. It's not about being cold or dismissive. It's about being centered enough to walk away without anger, guilt, or regret. This kind of composure leaves a lasting impression because it's rare. Most people react impulsively, letting emotions take over. But when you remain composed and maintain your dignity, you stand out as someone who values his peace of mind over fleeting conflicts. In the end, whether she decides to let go or tries to reconnect, you'll know you handled the situation with strength and grace. You've shown her that you're not a man who clings to validation or engages in unnecessary drama. Instead, you're someone who respects himself enough to maintain control over his emotions. That's a rare and powerful quality, and it leaves a lasting impression far beyond the moment. And now I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone tested your resolve? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious about your insights and experiences. Or if you're short on time, just type "I stay grounded" in the comments to let me know you're embracing the Stoic mindset. Your input helps foster a community where we can all grow and learn from each other. So don't hold back. No. 3. Increased effort to impress. Her next move: she starts trying harder. You'll likely notice changes in her behavior, appearance, or even her overall attitude. She might text you more often, putting extra thought into her words, trying to find a way to engage you. Her tone might become softer, more affectionate, or even flirtatious. Anything to reignite the connection. Maybe she starts putting more effort into how she looks, knowing you'll see her or interact with her. There's a new outfit, a different hairstyle, or a level of confidence that wasn't there before. Even her attitude might shift. She becomes more agreeable, more supportive, or more focused on what she thinks you want or need. Now, why does this happen? It's human nature. We're often drawn to what feels just out of reach. When you stop giving your attention freely, she feels the void. That absence stirs up emotions: curiosity, uncertainty, even a bit of panic, and it pushes her to take action. Whether she's consciously aware of it or not, her efforts are often driven by a desire to reclaim your attention, to prove to herself that she still holds a place in your life. Epictetus taught that we should focus on what is within our control and release what isn't. Her reaction, while it may be flattering or even surprising, is not something you can control. or should try to control. It's a reflection of her internal world, not yours. If her efforts are sincere and aligned with what you truly value, that's worth appreciating. But if her changes feel like a reaction to your detachment, rather than a sign of real growth or understanding, you need to tread carefully. Imagine this scenario. You've stepped back from the relationship because you realized it no longer aligns with your long-term goals. Perhaps she wasn't respecting your boundaries or wasn't offering the kind of partnership you need to thrive. Now, sensing the shift, she starts sending messages that seem more thoughtful or even apologetic. Maybe she suddenly becomes more attentive, listening to things she once ignored or downplayed. From a Stoic perspective, it's essential to ask yourself, has anything actually changed at its core? Or is this just a surface-level reaction to the fear of losing you? Stoicism teaches us to act with intention and integrity. Don't be led by fleeting emotions or external influences. If you've stepped away to protect your peace, don't let temporary gestures pull you back into a dynamic that doesn't serve you. It's okay to appreciate her effort. It's okay to recognize that she's trying, and maybe even to feel a sense of pride that your presence had such an impact. But you have to remain anchored in your own values. Ask yourself the hard questions. Is her effort a sign of genuine growth and change? Or is it just a reaction to your absence? If it's the latter, the dynamic won't sustain itself. She likely revert to old habits once the fear of losing you fades. If it's the former, and her actions truly align with what you value in a partner, then perhaps there's room for a conversation about the future. Remember this: protecting your peace isn't about being cold or unkind. It's about ensuring that your relationships, romantic or otherwise, enhance your life rather than disrupt it. If she's making an effort and it feels genuine, take a moment to appreciate it. But always stay grounded in what truly matters to you. The right relationship will complement your growth, not pull you away from it. Above all, stay true to yourself. Because at the end of the day, your peace of mind is something only you can protect. No, for the emotional roller coaster. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, it can create a whirlwind of emotions within her. Frustration, sadness, even longing. It's a deeply human reaction to the sudden shift in energy and attention. She might find herself swinging between trying harder to win back your affection and pulling back entirely to protect her pride. This emotional roller coaster isn't about you. It's a reflection of her inner struggle as she tries to make sense of the change. You see, people often value what feels scarce. And when your attention becomes less available, it sparks a sense of uncertainty. She may start replaying moments in her mind, questioning where things shifted, and wondering if she took your interest for granted. It's a natural reaction, but it also reveals how much we tie our self-worth to external validation. A behavior we've all been guilty of at some point. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The key is to remain grounded and steady amidst this storm of emotions. Don't let her attempts to provoke a reaction or her withdrawal shake your inner peace. Your ability to maintain composure shows strength and self-control, qualities that not only command respect, but also demonstrate that your value doesn't hinge on anyone else's behavior. By holding your ground and staying true to your values, you communicate something profound: that your worth is not defined by external approval or attention. This doesn't mean being cold or dismissive, but rather embracing an air of calm detachment. Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. You can't control her emotions, nor should you try to. What you can do is remain consistent in who you are, showing that your inner world isn't swayed by fleeting circumstances. In time, she may come to respect this sense of self-possession. It may even prompt her to reflect on her own emotions and behaviors, but more importantly, by embodying this steadiness, you prioritize your peace of mind. That's where your true power lies, showing that you're in control of yourself, regardless of how someone else chooses to act. So the next time you notice her struggling with your indifference, remember this: it's not your job to fix her emotions. Instead, focus on being the master of your own. That quiet confidence speaks louder than any reaction ever could. Now I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this approach to maintaining composure and self-control? Have you experienced a situation like this before? Share your perspective in the comments below. Or if you're not sure what to say, just type "quiet confidence is my power" to let me know you're committed to mastering your inner world. Let's keep the conversation going. No. 5. The silent observation phase. When words no longer bridge the gap, something remarkable happens. She begins to observe in silence. Her focus shifts from what you say to what you do. Every gesture, every decision, every moment of your presence or absence becomes a clue. She starts to wonder, is he really over me? Or are his actions saying something else? You see, actions always speak louder than words. When you've reached the point of detachment, it shows in your behavior, and it leaves her questioning everything. The late replies, the reduced interest, the way you carry yourself with an air of calm independence, it all paints a picture. It's not about playing games or trying to prove a point. It's about embodying a sense of peace that comes from within. This calmness is what makes her notice, perhaps for the first time, that you've shifted your energy away from her. Stoicism teaches us that true detachment isn't about coldness or indifference. It's about accepting things as they are, not as we wish them to be. When you let go, it should come from a place of understanding, not resentment. By focusing on your own growth and maintaining your composure, you're demonstrating what the Stoics call anaxia, a serene mind undisturbed by external events. She feels this shift, and it stirs something deep within her, because it's no longer about her. It's about you reclaiming your peace. For example, she sends a casual message after weeks of silence, maybe a "Hey, how have you been?" instead of jumping to reply or over-analyzing her intentions. You take your time, you respond when you're ready, perhaps with a polite but neutral tone. There's no bitterness, no eagerness, just calm clarity. That one action speaks volumes. She begins to notice that you're no longer seeking validation from her, and this realization often hits harder than any words ever could. What's fascinating is how this shift often compels her to reflect. The space you've created gives her room to think about her own actions, her own feelings. She might start to question if she took you for granted, if she misread the value you brought into her life. It's a powerful dynamic, but it only works if your detachment is genuine. Remember, this isn't about manipulation or trying to get a reaction. True Stoic detachment means you've made peace with the outcome, whatever it may be. You're not ignoring her to hurt her. You're prioritizing your own mental clarity and emotional well-being. That quiet confidence, that inner strength, it's what makes her take notice. And sometimes realizing you've lost interest is the wake-up call she didn't know she needed. So as you navigate this path, let your actions reflect the kind of person you aspire to be. Lead with calm, lead with clarity. And let your focus remain on what you can control. Yourself. It's not about winning her back. It's about showing up for yourself. And in doing so, you might just become the person she regrets letting go. No. 6. Rebuilding her guard. If she realizes you've truly moved on, she begins to protect herself emotionally. This response isn't necessarily about you. It's about her need to create a sense of safety and stability within herself. You might notice her pulling back or putting up emotional walls. It can appear as indifference, but more often than not, it's a defense mechanism. A way to shield her heart from further vulnerability or hurt. This is where your approach becomes crucial. As tempting as it might be to mirror her apparent detachment or let pride dictate your actions, the Stoic way invites you to handle the situation with grace and understanding. Stoicism teaches us that we don't control how others react or feel. We only control our own thoughts, actions, and responses. You can respect her boundaries without allowing resentment or ego to color your behavior. It's not about proving a point or regaining the upper hand. It's about maintaining your own sense of dignity and inner peace. Let's say she suddenly stops responding to your messages or avoids engaging with you directly. Instead of overanalyzing her actions or attempting to force a response, you can step back and give her the space she needs. Show kindness, but remain firm in your decision to move forward. This balance between respecting her autonomy and holding your ground is where true strength lies. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind. Not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When she senses that you are genuinely at peace with moving on, it can evoke a range of emotions within her. She may reflect on what led to this point, question her own actions, or even feel regret. However, your role isn't to manipulate or orchestrate these reactions. Instead, focus on being a steady, composed presence, someone who doesn't need to tear others down to feel strong or validated. By practicing emotional self-discipline and living in alignment with your values, you demonstrate what it means to be centered, confident, and self-assured. This often speaks louder than any words or actions meant to prove your worth. You show that your peace of mind isn't dependent on someone else's opinion or behavior, and that is incredibly powerful. When you walk away with a calm and collected demeanor, you leave an impression that's hard to ignore. This isn't about playing games or seeking validation. It's about embracing the core of Stoicism, mastering yourself and finding freedom in letting go of what you cannot control. And in doing so, you show respect not just for her, but for yourself. If you've made it this far, it's clear that you're deeply invested in mastering yourself and approaching relationships with wisdom and grace. Now I'd love to hear your thoughts. How does this perspective on rebuilding emotional boundaries resonate with you? Have you ever found yourself navigating a similar situation? And how did you handle it? Share your insights in the comments below, or just type "strength lies in self-mastery." Your voice adds so much value to this conversation, and I can't wait to read your reflections. No. 7 attempts to spark jealousy. Feeling vulnerable, she might try to make you jealous. You might notice her posting pictures on social media that showcase her life in the best light. Whether it's nights out, new adventures, or photos with other men, she might bring up stories about someone who's been showing her attention or casually emphasize her independence, as if to say, "Look how well I'm doing without you." These actions aren't accidental. They're calculated moves, sometimes consciously, sometimes not. to regain the control she feels slipping away. As Epictetus wisely noted, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. These moments are an invitation for you to practice that philosophy. When someone tries to provoke you, whether through jealousy or any other emotional trigger, it's not the act itself that holds power, but your response to it. If you engage, even subtly, you fuel the narrative she's creating. But if you remain calm, detached and focused on your own peace, you not only take control of the situation, but you also maintain your dignity. Think of jealousy as a fire. It thrives on reaction, on the fuel of engagement. If she posts a picture with someone new or makes a pointed remark about her life, the temptation to react can be strong. But a Stoic man understands that the only thing worth controlling is his own mind. Ask yourself, does this really affect my peace? Or is it just a test of my resolve? By refusing to feed into the emotional games, you starve that fire. Your indifference sends a powerful message. Not one of bitterness, but one of unshakable composure. It shows that your peace is something no one can take away from you unless you allow it. For example, she shares a story about someone else taking her out, or posts a carefully staged photo with another man. Instead of letting it gnaw at you, recognize it for what it is: an attempt to provoke a reaction. Smile to yourself, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that your value doesn't depend on anyone's opinion or approval. This is where your inner strength shines. Your silence and composure will do more than words ever could. It communicates that you're not playing the game, that your happiness isn't dictated by external events. Over time, this calm indifference will often have an unexpected effect. She may start to question her actions. Why hasn't he reacted? Why does he seem so unaffected? This uncertainty shifts the focus inward, making her reflect on what she might have lost. Your silence becomes louder than anything you could say. It's not about punishing her, but about showing that you're a man who values his inner tranquility above fleeting drama. And let's be honest, people, whether consciously or not, are drawn to those who exude this kind of confidence and self-control. It's magnetic. By embodying the Stoic principles of self-mastery and emotional stability, you not only set yourself apart, but also demonstrate what it means to lead with strength and wisdom. You're not swayed by external noise because your foundation is built on something deeper: a respect for yourself and a commitment to your own peace of mind. So if she's trying to make you jealous or flaunt her independence, let her watch without judgment, and let your calmness speak for you. In doing so, you maintain your power, preserve your peace, and show her and yourself that you are in control of your emotions, not the other way around. This is what sets a Stoic man apart. You don't chase, you attract by standing firm in your values. And that is the kind of strength no one can ignore. No, 8. Accepting and adapting. Eventually, she accepts the reality of your disinterest. This stage is where true transformation often begins, not just for her but for you as well. As she accepts this new reality, she may experience significant personal growth. It's not easy to let go of someone we care about, but in that struggle lies an opportunity for strength. Acceptance doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process that teaches resilience, self-reflection, and the importance of focusing on what she can control. In a way, letting go becomes her version of practicing Stoicism. Even if she doesn't call it that, it's about releasing the grip on what no longer serves her and redirecting her energy towards her own well-being. For you, this is a moment to focus on your own growth and actions, but also to respect her process. Stoicism teaches us to understand what lies within our control and what does not. You cannot dictate how she feels or how she handles your disinterest, but you can remain composed, kind, and focused on your own path. By shifting your attention inward, you can stay true to your values while allowing her the space to find peace in her own time. Think of it this way: when you choose to step back and focus on yourself, you're signaling that your energy is reserved for what truly matters to you. This action can serve as a mirror, encouraging her to reflect on her own needs, desires, and goals. For some women, this realization can be the push they need to reclaim their confidence, explore their independence, or redirect their focus on things that bring them joy. Imagine a scenario where a woman, after sensing your withdrawal, initially feels hurt but later channels that energy into something meaningful. Maybe she picks up a hobby she had neglected or begins focusing on her career or personal health. The pain of feeling your absence becomes the catalyst for her growth. As hard as it may be to watch someone struggle, it's also a reminder that people often emerge stronger after moments of adversity. The key takeaway here is that stepping back isn't about hurting someone intentionally. It's about making intentional choices that align with your growth and values. By doing so, you also give her the opportunity to embrace her own journey. Remember, just as you're navigating your path, she's finding hers. Respecting her process while focusing on your own is not only the Stoic way, but the honorable one. 9. Reflecting on your own journey. Finally, this experience is not just about her reaction. It's also about your growth. Sometimes losing interest happens because you've evolved as a person. Your priorities shift, your understanding deepens, and what once seemed like a perfect connection no longer aligns with who you are or what you seek. This isn't a failure. It's a sign of growth. As you grow, your needs and values refine themselves, and relationships that don't match this new version of you naturally fall away. It's not about blame, it's about clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, every relationship is a lesson. Reflect on what this relationship taught you. Were there moments that helped you discover more about your boundaries, your desires, or your values? Were there instances where you realized you needed to be more assertive, patient, or self-aware? These lessons are invaluable because they shape the person you're becoming. For her, your lack of interest might stir feelings of doubt or a desire to reconnect. This is natural because people often don't fully appreciate what they had until it's no longer accessible. But rather than focusing on her potential reaction, center yourself. This is your chance to reaffirm your values, to stand firm in what truly matters to you, and to avoid being swayed by guilt or external expectations. Take this as an opportunity for introspection. What was it about the relationship that no longer resonated? Was it a lack of shared goals or emotional connection? Maybe you outgrew certain dynamics. Whatever the case, treat it as a stepping stone toward better understanding your authentic self. Growth is never easy, but it's always worthwhile. You might find yourself drawn to Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. Once again, take the good and leave the rest. Cherish the positive memories and the lessons learned, but don't dwell on what could have been. Instead, focus on improving your own character. Whether it's by cultivating patience, resilience, or a deeper sense of self-awareness, every step you take is an investment in becoming the person you're meant to be. So as you reflect on this situation, remember, it's not about regret or blame. It's about alignment by staying true to yourself and learning from each experience. You're paving the way for more meaningful connections in the future. Connections that truly resonate with your values and your purpose. As we bring this video to a close, let's take a moment to reflect on the deeper lessons we've explored today. Relationships, like life itself, are a constant interplay of emotions, intentions, and growth. Whether it's the subtle shift in someone's attention, the tests of resolve, or the eventual transformation that comes from acceptance, each stage offers a unique opportunity to learn, not just about others, but about yourself. The key takeaway here is that your value isn't tied to someone else's perception of you. It's rooted in how you perceive yourself and the standards you set for your life. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within, from mastering our emotions, staying composed in the face of uncertainty, and focusing only on what we can control. When you let go of the need to chase or prove yourself to someone else, you reclaim your power. This isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about being grounded, self-assured, and intentional in every action you take. Think back to the examples we discussed. When someone feels the void created by your withdrawal, their reaction often reveals more about their emotions than yours. Whether they try harder, test your resolve, or even attempt to spark jealousy, these behaviors are reflections of their internal world, not yours. Your role isn't to react emotionally or get pulled into unnecessary drama. It's to remain steady, centered, and true to your values. That kind of composure is not only rare, but also deeply respected. Now let's consider the bigger picture. Every relationship you encounter, whether it lasts a moment or a lifetime, has something to teach you. Perhaps it's about setting clearer boundaries, recognizing patterns that don't serve you, or understanding what you truly value in a connection. These lessons aren't always easy, but they're always worth embracing. Marcus Aurelius said it best: "Take the good and leave the rest." Cherish the moments that added value and let go of the ones that didn't. Growth often requires letting go, and that's okay. It's part of becoming the best version of yourself. For those moments when emotions feel overwhelming, remember the power of silence, reflection, and patience. Let your actions speak louder than words, and let your peace of mind be the foundation for all your decisions. Whether someone chooses to stay, leave, or re-enter your life, your sense of worth should remain intact, unshaken by external circumstances. That's the true essence of self-mastery, and it's the path to authentic, fulfilling relationships. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What part of today's video resonated with you the most? Was there a stage or an example that spoke to your own experiences? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Not only does your input enrich our community, but it also helps us continue creating meaningful content that truly connects with you. If you found value in this video, show your support by giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with someone who could benefit from these insights. And don't stop here. Explore the recommended videos on your screen now. Each one dives deeper into topics like self-respect, emotional mastery, and building stronger, more intentional relationships. These are lessons you won't want to miss. Thank you for being part of this journey. Remember, protecting your peace isn't just a choice. It's a commitment to yourself. Stay grounded, stay true to your values, and trust that the right connections will come into your life when you least expect them. Until next time, take care and keep striving for the clarity and strength that Stoicism offers. See you in the next video.